Okay, I was arguing recently about something with my friend, so I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
What's the difference between being a coach and being a manager?
Okay, so first of all, managers are becoming extinct. The era of managers are becoming limiting. So the era of managers, we have them Ferguson, which they're in charge of the whole footballing
Yeah,
operation of the club,
yeah,
of the team. So they're in charge of the club, not just the footballing team.
yes,
So they're not just training ground coaches.
yes.
They're in charge of the whole
We're involved.
marketing, signing
Decision making,
players,
yeah,
decision making. They're in charge of running the football clubs, which are going out of phase now. Now we have more of head coaches which are they are basically limited to the training ground, not even recruitment per se, but they are limited to the training ground. So then they work with the sporting director, technical director, head of operations. So they work with a whole management team to foster the club. So basically, managers were in charge of the whole team, the whole football club, the operation of the football club.
yeah.
Why now head coaches are just in charge of the football team in itself, the players, and then their immediate circle.
So, as a coach,
Yeah.
would you love to be a head coach or a manager?
I think every football coach will want to be a manager per se. But me, on a personal level, I have no problem being a head coach as far as the roles of every other person in that
Yeah,
management team is clearly defined. So, for example, in JP Morgan, I work with a sporting director,
yeah,
which was in charge, who was in charge of player recruitment and finding pathways
yeah,
for the academy. While I was in charge of developing talent and then developing a particular style of play and then
yes.
individual player development. So, like I said, as far as the roles are clearly stated and clearly defined, it becomes easy for everybody to participate. And me, on a personal level, especially for in terms of academy level, I like I said, I recommend it for club owners to have
Sporting director.
sporting director for academic phase so that they take away power from just the coach.
Yeah,
So that then there are checks and balances to see what the coach is doing. So I have, like I said, on a personal level, I have no qualms with it as far as everybody has their clearly defined roles.
you, you shared earlier that you work with a sporting director.
Yeah.
Um, was there a time when like you guys had conflicting ideas about a player's development or something?
Yeah.
So how do you handle that when if both of you are having conflicting views about how the team should play?
We are adults, so I feel we have conversations. We have to have conversations. And even before you get into your role, you have to have a proper conversation with the management of the team to find out, okay, what style of play do you want to play?
Yeah,
You understand? So you have to say, okay, I want to play possession-based football. So you know, okay, even down to the sporting director, he knows we're going to send players that can play possession style of football. That means you have to have technically gifted players
yeah,
to play possession style of football. Then you want to play counter press style of football. That means you have to have players that are physically at that level to play that kind of football. That means you have to have players that play with great intensity, that are strong, that are physically fit, good height, good physique. They know what to play. So it's conversations. You have to know what you want to do in that moment. So, and even when you're having conflict, you still have to have
okay,
conversations.
let me use the person as an example.
Who's that?
Nottingham Forest, my
Okay.
coach. What's his name? No.
Yeah, no
You know,
respect. So,
he fell out with Edu and the chairman because of the same thing.
yeah.
So, like, what do you think, being a coach, like watching from the touchline, do you think he handled the case very well?
Yeah, I think it's almost the same thing with Amorim too at Amari.
My,
And it's to me, how will you handle it? So when a coach is going to be judged on what you are doing on the grass.
performance, yes.
Yes, what you are doing on the grass, whether it's in training sessions or even
Yes.
in the match field. For academic coach, you're going to train. So at that moment when you're not being your ideas are not going to be taken into consideration,
Yeah.
the best thing is to step aside for another person that fits into that plan. So like I said, I don't know. I think if it's me, I'll do the same thing. I'll walk away. I'm not going to try to manage what cannot be managed.
All right.
So to me, just walk away if you cannot, if your conversations are not what you're interfacing about is not getting
Yeah.
your point of view is not coming across. Is to walk away from the job because
Yeah.
what do you want to do?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
If you were given a blank check today and said that there's a coach in Europe, that just pick one coach in Europe that you can sit with and talk about football with, who would that be and why?
It's not must be Europe.
Okay, yeah. Sorry for using the word Europe.
And I want to be. I have to make it two. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
can't choose. There are two coaches that I look up to, and if anybody in the world can connect me to meet this
Yeah.
friend to make my day.
Let me guess one.
Guess what?
Beyond limit.
That's Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yes, beyond limit coach Olumide would be. I would like to shadow him for a month or a week to be something.
Wow.
I'm somebody I attend majority if he has like a webinar or
Yeah.
a what's it called
Conference or something.
a conference or a course. I always
Yeah.
try and change because I'm a big fan of his Olumide beyond limits. Big fan of his. If anybody can just a week just to shadow him to be awesome to pick up. Then internationally there are two coaches that is a must that I must in this life. I wish I can sit with them.
Let me guess again.
Guess again.
Pep Guardiola.
Nah, not Pep Guardiola. I love Pep Guardiola, but not him.
One last time.
You want
Yeah, let me guess again.
guess again?
Michel Bielsa.
Who's that?
Bielsa.
Yes, Bielsa is Oloko. Bielsa is a coach I look up to with because of his attention to details. So if anybody is willing to fly me to Argentina to speak with him, that would be beautiful, and I would love to sit with him for like a month. So yes, Bielsa is a coach that I hold in high regard. Like, somebody that I try to model myself to. Another person that I would love to shadow or to have interactions with or to just have conversations is Ralph Ragnick. I mean, I love
Wow.
Ralph Ragnick and everything that he has accomplished in his career. And I fell in love with him watching him against Man U, against Schalke. And I was just wondering, wow, who is this team prepping us with this level of intensity? And I just fell in love with him. So Ralph Ragnick, Bielsa, and then Coach Olumide beyond limits. These are coaches that I would love to sit with. Another coach again to sidestep is with this guy at Vermont Stars, Ijabo. He's another person that
Oh, yeah.
I would like to have interactions with to see his style of play. And then we have coach at Rangers of
Mama.
no not Imama
Okay, sorry. Okay, it
um,
was head coach.
Truth.
Okay.
Please, if you have a way to meet these guys, people that are these five coaches are people that I would love to sit with and have conversations with. Yeah.
Of the truth, um, I don't know if you agree because you're a coach, but personally, I feel like our coaches in Nigeria are not evolving, and I feel like it's part of the problems why we are not producing the talent that we ought to produce.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like a whole lot based on what you talked about now, these are things that someone needs to go and get education for,
Yeah.
like to really understand this thing. And you talked about how going to Juventus really change your perspective about the game. But I've gone around, I've played for a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
Or I don't think most of our coaches are really like working with the modern template of how academy should be run or how they should approach players development.
First of all, me passion. So me, passion that drove me into this place. So as a coach,
Okay.
first of all, you have to have passion.
Yeah.
Really, not about coaching, but every sphere of life, everything you want to go into, you have to have
Okay.
passion. So this is my passion. So I'm not going to wait for NFF to imbibe the knowledge in me that I need to pass it down to my players. So first of all, you have to be passionate. You go out and find knowledge. So on a personal level, I'm one of my key or one of my superpowers is I love to learn.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to see with you and I'm going to learn something from you, I'm going to see with you. So I went out and I looked for knowledge by myself. So if you say that Nigerian coaches are not involved, and I say that they are not learning. So you have to go out and learn and go out and seek knowledge, actively seek knowledge. And to every young coach that's about to start, the internet has given us connectivity. What are you doing with your social media?
YouTube,
You go to my YouTube, if you go to my Twitter, my Instagram, you think it's just football. I have a couple of ex-girlfriends that just, man, your feed is boring.
Yeah.
But if you go to my Twitter, I follow coaches that I love. That I didn't mention coaches that I follow. There are coaches that outside of these coaches I mentioned, I follow the assistant coach of Bayern Munich. Even before he was assistant coach, Renate Moritz. I follow him on social media. I'm interested. There's this coach that used to work with Espanyol, and he has traveled. He worked in China, so many parts of the world. He used to work in Austria. I've forgotten his name now. Batrian Masquerade. I follow him on social media too. So you have to go out and look for people that resonate with who you are as a coach and your philosophy. Then try and follow up and then go from there. So you have to go out and learn. So if Nigerian coaches are not involved in, I feel they should go out and learn. The internet has made everything easy now.
Okay. Now, with all you've said, there's one key aspect that I feel like still on this the Nigerian coaches is communication.
Yeah.
So now like I want to ask, how do you communicate with the player to make him still feel respected and not you just imposing your authority on him? Because sometimes I've heard coaches tell us that I'm not your mate. Yeah, so I think sometimes most as players we are not really open to our coaches. Like we can't really be vulnerable around them because of how they communicate with us. So how do you communicate with your players to make them still feel like loved and wanting them to come to you, come and share their feelings with you when they are not really maybe when they are struggling?
Okay, so remember in the beginning of when we were about to start, I said something that football is 70% human relationship,
Yes.
and the rest is
Yeah.
30% is just practice and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to be a human being. So on a personal level, I believe that respect is reciprocal.
Yeah.
So whether I'm coaching U9 and I was blessed to start from like coaching, I've coached at every level. I've
Yeah.
coached U5, U6 up to professional level. So working with whatever age grade is
Yeah.
respect. So I'll first give you respect. So when I respect the player, I expect that he himself respect.
Yeah.
And then we open a line of communication. And every team that I coach, so I tell the players first of all that my doors are always open. Literally, if I had an office, I'll remove the door so that you know that you can always walk in and communicate with me. There's no trusting as not communicating. I try to, because that's how you begin to interact and be to tell players that look, as a centre back, you have to develop XYZ trait. As a midfielder, you have to do this, you have to develop this certain trait
Yeah.
for you to improve. You have to, so communication is open line with me. Then again, is your like I mentioned something, your coaching intervention. Like I said, I like guided discovery. I'm not a command person. I like guided discovery and demonstration. I like to, so you understand the kind of person I am. Not, hey, do this, hey, do that. There are certain moments as a coach you have to do that. But me, I like to get you to the point so that you understand. You begin to say, okay, I want the best for you. I tell people that launch here that I want to be the coach that I never had.
Yeah.
And maybe if I had a certain kind of coach,
Yeah.
or had myself as a coach, maybe I'll tell maybe I was good enough to become a professional footballer. Or I never had that coach that made me feel I was that good. So I never, but I want to be the best version of myself, and I try to pass that down to my players to get them to be the best version of themselves. And if it's opening a clear line of communication, we do that. Then I'm fine to do that for my players.
All right. Quickly, how do you deal with ego in the dressing room?
How do I deal with ego? Openness. I don't believe that any player is the same. I don't know if you understand me. I don't believe that individuals are different. So
Yeah.
I look at the individual and I deal with you from that angle. And to me, there's no such thing as ego. Ego is sometimes, majority of the time, it's a defense mechanism for players. So if the player sees that you are down to earth and you are real with him, he will open up. Because them too, they are going through a lot. It's not easy to chase this dream. I tell players that it's easier to be a medical doctor than to become a professional footballer.
100%.
So yeah, so you have to have understanding. So if I understand, oh, this player is like this, then I tailor my management to that particular player, not to everybody's not the same. So my player management is tailored to the specific player, not to the group. I will hold the group to standard. There's no I in team. I always hold the group to standard, but I will tailor my coaching and my player management to the individual, not to the group.
Looking at the bigger picture, in Nigeria, okay, let's start with Nigeria. Which team would you love to work with in Nigeria, like probably in MPFL and globally, like which team like we want to work with on the long run?
Internationally, let me start from there. Internationally, I'm a big Man U fan, so if I can coach a Man U, it will be something.
Hey.
Then again, like I said, I'm a big Ralph Ragnick.
Yeah.
So working within the Red Bull structure will be something that will do wonders for me as a person and as a coach. So aside that, I don't have any big preference. As a coach, I dream about one day hearing the Champions League anthem, and God knows I'm going to cry uncontrollably as like a child. But internationally, there's no I want to work in this specific. Internationally, working anywhere internationally would be a big dream, and it's not just in the continent of Europe, Asia or Africa, or be any.
And sorry, I feel like it's a problem because hardly we see black coaches like at the highest level. Like why?
Company is black.
Yeah, like
the current coach of Turkey is a black coach. His assistant is black. They are black coaches, but they are rare. And again, you have to understand that this sport was not developed in Africa.
Yeah,
it was developed watch that one. So we have to buy our time, and we are getting there. It's becoming more privileged to see black coaches, but yeah, they're not a lot. There was the former coach of Celtic who was black before he got sacked.
Yeah.
So there are coaches now that are black
Coming
that
up,
are coming up
That's
to say a few.
that's
So you asked me some the previous question. I didn't complete the question.
okay. About your aspirations.
Yeah. So again, in Nigeria, coming back to Nigeria, yeah, the coach, the legacy teams in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'm from Edo State,
Yeah.
so I would love to work in what's it called, the Insurance of Benin. My dad is a fan, and I'm sure that my dad would love to see me work Insurance of Benin. Then I grew up in the north. Even though I grew up in Lagos, but I moved to the north at quite a young age. And in the north, the biggest team is Kano Pillars. So Kano Pillars is, I don't know if you're in Nigeria and you're into football, I encourage you to see a Kano Pillars match. Go to the stadium and feel that.
I feel their fans.
That environment
Like,
is breathtaking.
Yeah.
Some people feel it's hostile, but as a Nigerian, it's mad. It's something I would love to do.
I call them bullies.
Yeah, not really. It's the environment. It's what you go and see in Dortmund with the yellow wall. What Liverpool are seeing.
Anfield, yeah.
So it's the same thing. Then again, another club I would love to work with. Two clubs in the East that I would love to work with. I'll give my blood to work there. It's Eimba and Rangers. I don't know. Wow, those are legacy teams. I grew up watching Eimba win back to back to win CAF Champions League.
Yeah.
The Rangers, the Cathedral, the environment that stadium brings, especially when they are playing their derby, Eimba versus Rangers, the sheer environment, the stadium is full, about 50,000 people are in that stadium. The stadium is bouncing to be again legacy team to be something to work in that environment. And then finally on the modern listing, Sporting Lagos and then Beyond Limits are my absolute dream, especially on the development as a developmental coach and I see myself as a developmental
I love Beyond Limits.
Working in Beyond Limits and working in Sporting Lagos will be immense.
Wow.
And honorable mentions to Ikorodu and Inter Lagos. Those are things that in this modern era as a coach you should dream about working in those spaces.
Before I forget,
there's
something that I want you to talk about so that every player can listen and learn from it.
Okay.
How important it is for you to play according to your team's philosophy and not you being individualistic as a player.
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from with that question, and I'll do you one favor and I'll speak about them picking academies and then generally in terms of their development as players, because I know a lot of players watch your platform. So first of all, it's very, very important to first listen to your coach. So you have to be attentive. And let me start from the very beginning. First of all, pick academies that have these three things. I'm going to mention three things. And again, for people that want to own academies and own teams in Nigeria, these three things are important. So they are called the 3 C's in football. So the first one is concept. So as a player, you have to find a team that has concept. So what do I mean by concept? They have a style of play. They have a style of not like style of, they have a style of play first of all, then they have a style of concept that they are following. So let me use Beyond Limits for example. So Beyond Limits, you can see their concept. So they have what I call economics of scale. So they have economics of scale in terms of facility, economics of scale in terms of player development, economics of scale in terms of sharing information. So they have to start clubs as well. Because they go to school. So very important. So you have to go to teams that have concept. So again, come to Abuja, we have teams like Derby, and then we have academies like Derby and Sporting Supreme HB. So their concepts are quite different. For example, Derby is more holistic. They have the U13 and they are building their players to a certain level. While HB, their philosophy is different. I think they have open U16s and U13, but they look for ready-made players to play intense style of football. So you have to have teams there. First of all, team that has a concept. The second C is competence. So you have to have a team that has competence. So what is the owner doing in terms of competence? You have competent project. You have competent coaches. You have a competent sporting project. And the final one is capital, which is one of the most important.
Baba.
Yes, but again, it's important, but a lot of teams in Nigeria have capital, but they don't have the money to.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by capital? Capital is basically money.
Yeah.
Do they have money to spend? Football is a capital intensive project. So you have to have capital. So as a player or as a club owner, you have to have these three things.
Yeah.
So if you are a player, you have to find out whether your team has concept, they have competence, and then they have capital. If they have these three things, then you can go Now, as a player, I want to step into this a team that has these three things. Can I tailor my game to their style of play? Now, when you tailor your game, you're not begin to ask your coach, oh coach, what do I need to develop? What do I need to do? Now, another thing I need to tell players is that how many hours your team train for? The max your team can train for is maybe 3 hours, which is not even practical because 3 hours is a lot of hours,
Yeah.
especially maybe 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes. But a lot of teams train 3 hours, and because they have large numbers of players. So let's say you are training 3 hours, so it's not enough. Like I said, let's go back to real life. You go to school to become a medical doctor. How many hours are you spending in school?
8 hours,
8
7
hours.
hours
So
daily.
you should add this time up and do personal training. So after your team training, maybe your team train 2 hours a day. So maybe they train 2 hours, 2 hours. Then finally maybe to fit in another 1 hour of your own personal training, and then train specific things. Interact with your coaches. Find out what is your flaws and what are your strengths. And a lot of players do not know their own. What is my playing style? So as a player, I'm a midfielder. Am I a deep line playmaker? Am I an anchor man? Am I a just break up play?
Yes.
So you have to know your own style of play, even as an attacker,
Yes.
depending on your position. So then when you have that conversation with you know your game, then you know how
Yeah.
to develop your game and how to move from there. So these are the little things I need to share with players. Very important. These things I'm saying, very important. Picking out your academy first of all, then making sure that your coach is competent, then making sure that you are training on your own. These three things are very, very important to develop yourself and to move forward in life. And finally, sorry, make sure that your academy that you join has pathways for you to move. So again, Remo, Beyond Limits, they have Remo Stars for you to move. They have CD Firenze, and then they have other partnership with other teams,
Yeah.
and they are playing in competent competitions that
Yes.
their players can see. They play in the NNL, they play in TCC in Lagos. If you come to Abuja, these teams I mentioned in Abuja,
Yes.
Milantariki, Derby,
HB.
HB, they are playing in all these
Yeah.
competitions.
Yes.
Even my own playing, they
Yeah.
are either playing in NNL, we are going to
Yeah.
play in NNL, and hopefully
Yeah.
this season we are going to play in the Elite League. So you have to make sure that your teams are doing all these things that I mentioned.
Okay. Something that I was thinking about was yesterday
Yeah.
that sometimes when players are struggling, they ignore the most important that they should do, which is coming to the coach. Coach, why am I not playing? Because you see everything. You know your players. You can profile all of them in your head, right? Just sometimes I might not be playing because maybe as a number 6, I'm not really good with the ball, and you don't trust me with the ball because you want to play from the back. Instead of the player to come to you and ask you, coach, why am I not playing? They can tell you, okay, go and work on your first touch, work on your ball control. Some of these guys, some of us, we just go to the beach and start running, thinking that it's always all about strength. So like, I need to talk to them and how important it is for them to come to you guys and have a conversation with you about why they're not playing.
Okay, so very important, this thing you mentioned. And again, it's our society. We have to base a lot of all these problems on the society, we as Nigerians. So if look at the society at large, we raise a lot of timid people in this our
Yeah.
society because of our style of parenting.
Yeah.
So as a coach, I'm speaking to the coaches now. I'm
Yeah.
encouraging them to please make sure that there's open line of channel between their players. And then onto the players, I'm sure that if you walk up to your coach and you speak to him respectfully, he's going to speak to you openly. And again, like I said, that's why I give credit to Juventus Nigeria. They were one of the people that encouraged this kind of coaching style in me. That players could walk up to you and ask you. They will even ask you about your coaching plan for that day. Oh, coach, why are we doing this exercise? And as a coach, feel free to explain why you are even doing it. At me, before I start any session, I'll tell you, oh, today we are working on XYZ, and this is why we are doing it, and this is why we are doing it. This clear line so that the players can understand. And so, as a player, walk up to your coach, ask him, coach, please, why am I not playing? And he'll give you reasons why you're not playing. Or coach, why am I not? The coach is a human being like you. He's not going to kill you. He's going to speak to you. The most you can do is maybe shut you down, and then you move on. But feel free to always walk up to your coach and ask him respectfully why you're not playing and whatnot. And he'll give you pointers and say, okay, oh, for example, the example you gave for, let me use me for example. So when I play with a single pivot. That's a single number 6.
Yeah.
One Nigerian score number 4. So I play with a single pivot, and sometimes I play with a double pivot. So maybe in a situation where I like my pivots, my defensive midfielders to be technically secured, and
Yeah.
for them to go box to box,
Yeah.
and for them to be able to set the tempo
Yeah.
and control games. So maybe I have one of those players that cannot do that. He walks up to me and tells me, oh wow, this is the reason why I'm not playing. And again, my style of play, everybody will get minutes. So currently I work with a group of over 30 players.
Wow.
I try as much as possible to give minutes,
Yeah.
as much as possible, 60 minutes every week. we have 2 game weeks we have 2 game days in a week.
Yeah.
So everybody will get nothing less than 60 minutes. That's just me. But if a player is not getting minutes, I'll tell him, oh wow, this is what you need to work on. Work on your passing, work on your this. And even in my training plan, I still have elite work. I call it elite work, but it's individual work and unit work, where I work with players on an individual and on a unit basis. So I work with defenders, then I work with centre backs, and I work with the attacking unit, and I'll just work with the wingers, and I'll work with the midfielders, and I'll just work with the number 8 or the number 10 in that moment. So every coach has their style of how they want to develop players, but open line of channel is a must for me between my players for them to be able to speak to me. Because if they don't speak to me, how am I impacting? How are they learning? If they're afraid of me, they treat me like masquerade. When they see me coming this way and they go the other way. So with me and the line of conversation is always open.
Lastly, see, I feel like there's a department on the team that needs justice, which is the goalkeeping department.
Yeah.
See, I've spoken with more than 10 goalkeepers, and I discovered that most teams doesn't have goalkeeping coaches. So like, I feel like these guys, they are being neglected. Like in the developmental stage, nobody talks about them or care for them. So being a coach, you must have seen this team, this
Yeah.
event. So like, why is it happening?
Okay, so again, like I said, is if you're a player and you take those three C's I
Yeah.
said into consideration,
Yeah.
you will not go to teams that do not have goalkeeping coach. If you're a goalkeeper, you will not end up in a team that doesn't have a goalkeeping coach, because competence and concepts, they will know that, oh, we have to have a competent coach that has a goalkeeper, and then they'll set up a competent coaching department, and then their concepts. But again, it boils down to some of the teams prioritize outfield players because they're easy to transfer. And you can't blame them because they're easy to transfer outfield players and
Compared to goalkeepers.
Goalkeepers are very difficult. Pass back. I really feel for them. So that's why majority of the teams I go to or teams I step into, but if they don't have a goalkeeping coach, I recommend that they do have one on deck. Or if they already have, I make sure that the coaches are getting the right education, and make sure on my own, sometimes my contracts, I go as much as to force teams to have a budget for coaching development. Some teams do not even do not want that aspect.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I know you have to pay for my development. You have to make sure that I'm getting regular courses, even though it's just refresher courses.
Yeah.
But I'm going for refresher courses to make sure that I'm up to date, down to the coaching. And again, it's not just goalkeeping coach. Some teams do not have fitness coach, do not have all these things. So we are just what we are doing, like I said in the beginning, is anyhowness. Just anyhowness of our ecosystem, anyhowness of our country that is allowing all this. And I really feel for the coaches. As you see constantly in our national team, we constantly have goalkeeping classes where we don't have goalkeeper for a period of time.
Yeah.
Then we will go and or put somebody and then find, because we don't. It's a position that is very neglected in our country. It's not the players' fault.
All right. That's it for today. So thank you so much for
it's,
on the show.
It's a pleasure. Anytime. It's like I said, I'm a big fan of football episode and what you're doing for grassroots football in Nigeria.
Thank you.
And I hope so people keep encouraging you, and I hope people keep following you, liking you, and encouraging you, so that this platform can grow and it can help a lot of people become better.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.